Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new up in this place, my name is Ntwaniengomane. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for clicking on this video yet again. I think we're now sitting at about 6,300 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for clicking that subscribe button. If you're watching this video and you have not subscribed, please do consider subscribing if this content helps you in any way, so you help us grow the channel and reach out to more people. So today's video is a bit of a controversial one, and I want to start this video by putting a disclaimer on it that everything that I'm going to discuss in this video is of my experience and is my opinion. It is not reflective of experiences of other people, and it is also not a reflection of my employer or past employers or future employers for that matter. So I just felt that it is important for me to share these things because it's one of those things I've also experienced, and I've spoken to a lot of people around me and we share the same experiences, but it seems like nobody talks about it. You only just get here and you get the shock of your life. So I felt it was important for me to discuss it. So if it offends you in any way, or you feel triggered, or you feel like you need to pass on this message to someone with authority or whatever, just know that this is my personal experience and I'm not speaking on behalf of any company, any entity or institution for that matter. So don't drag me and take me to psycho. Anyway, let's get on to today's video. So today I want to talk about 5 things that are differences between audit in the UK and audit in South Africa. Having been in audit in South Africa and now being in audit in the UK, I have sort of spot certain things that are key differences that for me I'd never thought could be differences. I thought all industry fields are the same, and since I've been here, I've noticed that there are differences, and I just thought, let me share them with you. And whatever you decide to do with this information is entirely up to you, right? So the first thing that I can talk about is the work-life balance. I've spoken a lot on work-life balance, especially here in the UK. So while I was in South Africa, and also just before I get onto this, please understand that I was in South Africa in audit, but I've only been audit in one firm in South Africa, as much as I've only been in audit in one firm in the UK. So what I say might not be accurate for all firms, and it might not be the experience of every other trainee or every other auditor at other audit firms. But I also have had relations with people who were in audit in the other firms in both countries, and their experiences are much similar to mine, right? So work-life balance. I found that in South Africa, I didn't have much of a work-life balance. I felt that in South Africa, it was work, work, work every week, every day, sometimes Saturday, sometimes Sunday, holidays, especially busy season. For me, my experience was that January to March, April was very busy. I would never even think of planning a trip to anywhere during that period because even getting leave was difficult during that period. So work-life balance wasn't a thing when I was in South Africa in audit. It was very difficult to get days off. People were not very understanding of personal things that mattered to you outside of work. So you couldn't just say, hey, can I have some time off to go I have a beauty contest, or hey, can I have some time off to go do, especially during busy season. It was almost looked down upon, because that you're taking time off of work. I feel like we were rated more on the amount of time was spent at the office working, the amount of time was spent on the file. Our overall rating was really based on how hard you work. So for me, work-life balance was a very, very far dream that I had in South Africa. I'm not saying it was work 365 the whole entire year. Yes, there were days where I had leave, but I'm just saying more often than not, I felt like I didn't have work-life balance because I would work on weekends, I would work on Sundays. I felt like I was always under pressure to perform, and I was always under pressure to deliver. So yeah, that was the work-life thing in South Africa. As compared to here, I feel like my environment and the work-life thing is more relaxed. I feel like I have more time now to do things that interest me. I'm still within the audit space. There are still deadlines, and I have been through a busy season in the UK as well. And our busy season in the UK wasn't as busy as it had been in South Africa in my experience before. So here I feel like I have more time to do the things that I love outside of work, like my YouTube, like taking courses online and learning new things, going out, traveling. I feel like here I can request a day off to go do something, and it won't be looked down upon as though, you know, like, oh, she doesn't want to come to work or anything like that. So I feel like it doesn't reflect bad on me to take a day off to myself, while in South Africa I felt even scared to like take a day off. I feel like I was disappointing someone, you know. So my work-life balance here, I feel like, has been great. I've gotten off days when I needed them. Even during busy season, if I needed a day off, I could take a day off. So work-life balance, I would definitely say, is a tick for UK audit. The next point is the rigor or the intensity of the audit. When I first got here, I found somebody told me that not even when I first got here, while I was in South Africa, people always say, oh, in South Africa we over audit, and I never really knew what that means, because that's what I've always known. So like when somebody says in South Africa we over audit, I was like, what do you mean? That's how the job is done. For me, there was nothing else I knew until I came here, and then I got to understand that you don't need to over audit. And I'm not saying that's what happens in South Africa. I'm just saying I feel like we do that sometimes. So coming this side, I felt like the intensity of the audit was much more relaxed. It's not as intense as it is in South Africa. The documentation is not as rigorous. It's not as, maybe rigorous is not the right word to use, but like, it's not too much, you know. Like, I feel like in South Africa it's a lot. We document to the bone. Like, you need to document everything. And I know, because like it makes sense, because we taught that if it's not documented, it's not done right. So we want to put every nitty-gritty detail onto that work paper. So that's one thing that happens in South Africa audit compared to the UK, where this side it's a little bit more relaxed. It's not as intense as it is in South Africa, and I feel like that's why we have a more nicer work-life balance, because obviously if your work is not intense, then you have opportunities to relax and take a little bit day off and, you know, just do self-care stuff. But if your work is intense Monday to Friday every month, you know, it causes a bit of problems when it comes to your mental health, and the work environment gets a little bit toxic. But if the work is not as intense, then you're able to relax a bit, because you don't need to do too much. And I'm not saying they're compromising on quality. No, that's not my words. I'm not saying that. Quality is still great. Quality is still on the required standard. I'm just saying it is less intense. It is less rigorous, compared to what we're used to in South Africa, where there's a lot more documentation, there's a lot more rigor, you know, and there's a lot more stuff to document, you know. And obviously on this point, I'm bearing in mind that documentation on a file also depends on the methodology of the entity that you're in. So you could find that your methodology doesn't require you to document as much, and even if you're in South Africa, then it won't be intense, because there's not a lot to document. But if your methodology is really intense as well and requires you to document, then your audits are going to be intense. So there's also that difference in terms of methodologies, and the methodology that we use in South Africa for specific firms is different to the ones that are used in the UK for specific firms. And then the standards are also different. Actually, the standards are not different. So in the UK, we obviously still use IFRS, which is the same standard we use in South Africa. But in the UK, we use the one as adopted by the EU, which is basically still the same thing, to be honest. They just adopted it. It's still the same thing. So there's no difference there. However, in the UK, we add on the UK GAAP, which I am now starting to learn. So that's another difference between audit here and audit in South Africa. That here I now audit to the UK GAAP, which I've now started to learn. There's like tiny differences in the way they treat things in the accounting. It's not bad that you won't like know it. In most terms it's very similar. So if you have a background in IFRS, you should be able to do UK GAAP, because it's literally the same things. It just may be a difference here and there, but I found that it's basically the same for the majority of the financial statement captions. So yeah, I think that's the difference in terms of the auditing standards, and not the accounting standard. The auditing standards, the ISAs, we use the same ISAs, so there's no difference. What is this new one that's just come in now? ISA 315. It's the same in South Africa, it's the same in the UK. We literally do the exact same thing and we follow the exact same standard, so no difference there. The next point is work environment. So I've touched a little bit on this when I touched on the intensity of the audit and the work-life balance. The work environment here in the UK for me has been so healthy. It's been so good. It's been so nurturing for my growth. And I feel like I'm my best when I show up at work, you know, like I don't feel traumatized. I don't feel like it's toxic. I don't dread going to work because, oh, there's that one person who's gonna ruin my day or anything like that. So for me, the work environment has been absolutely amazing. I would definitely say that's the biggest thing that made me consider coming this side as well, because like I needed a work environment that will not deteriorate my mental health, while I feel like South Africa, on the other hand, was a little bit too toxic. It was just a lot. I remember in my third year last year, I was on a client and it was deadline time and there was just so much to do, and it was my first time being on the client as a third year. Now everyone is asking me the questions because obviously I am third year, but also I'm new and I don't know the answers. So it just felt there was a lot of pressure. So in South Africa, when they ask you can you work under pressure, they really mean it, guys. You need to be able to work under pressure. But I feel like as human beings, there's only so much pressure that we can take until it starts to affect our mental health, until it starts to affect other areas of our lives. Because I remember even during that time, my family came to visit me and I couldn't even spend time with them because I always thinking about, oh, that working paper, I need to solve that difference. I need to find out what that is. I need to, you know, like I was always working. Obviously during the day I'm working, those are my work hours, but even in the evenings I'd have my laptop on while we're trying to spend to do family time together. So it just felt so toxic, audit in South Africa. And I feel like this is not my experience alone. If you're there and you audit, you probably know what I'm talking about. It might not be something you have experienced, but something your colleagues are experiencing. So South Africa, for me, in audit in South Africa was generally very toxic. And the work environment was not very conducive. And I don't want to take away from the fact that there were great managers that I worked with while I was in South Africa. Not every work environment was toxic for me. I had very specific clients and very specific managers where I felt like, oh my God, can I just die? And there were managers and clients where I was like, let's do this, I'm ready to come to the office. Like I was even willing, to come in on a Saturday to try finish up, because the managers were so nice and they created a very great environment to work with. So it is different. I'm not saying overall the environment is toxic, but there are specific managers and people that you work with that tend to be very unsupportive, and they tend to be very toxic in a way. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the UK, maybe it does, but for me, in the 7 months that I've been here, and I've worked with a lot of managers, I have not worked with a toxic manager or had a toxic team or work environment in that sense. So that for me was a big thing coming to the UK. The last point is staffing issues. Staffing issues is basically excuse me, staffing issues is basically trying to find people to plan on a specific job, right? So like resourcing, getting people in, shortage of people. So that I found, to be honest, is the same. Staffing issues are everywhere, whether in the UK, whether in South Africa, for the purposes of this video. I found that actually, even I think South Africa might be better, because in South Africa, they take people who are coming from universities, or fresh graduates who have a background in accounting, so at least they know what's happening. Yes, you would have to coach them in terms of the audit methodology, the ISAs and whatnot, but you're not starting from ground zero. So at least that helps. There's a pool of students or graduates that come every year, and they go on to be first year, second and third year. So there is like that sort of supply into the workforce. But even though there are, I still feel like there's still shortage of staffing in audit firms or in the audit space in South Africa. I feel like, on a lot of jobs, there is a deadline set, and more often than not, it's either one, we meet the deadline because we've worked rigorous hours of overtime, we've worked through weekends and holidays, we meet the deadline, or we meet the deadline because we've asked for some people from other teams to come up and help us. It's never, I haven't experienced a point where we've met the deadline because one, we had enough time and we had enough people. There's always not enough time to do an audit, and there's always not enough people. So there are always staffing issues everywhere. Even in the UK, I have seen that there's not a lot of people. Resourcing is very difficult. There aren't a lot of people in audit who are doing the job. So I think it's also worsened in the UK because the trainees that come in do not have a background in accounting. So we literally have to start coaching from ground zero here, from teaching debits and credits and doing all of those things. So yeah, I feel like staffing issues equally the same. There's not a lot of supply into audit in either countries, and I feel like it's quite ironic because entities continue to win more jobs, to win more tenders, which is great, and it's growing their business. But at the same time, I feel like they need to start thinking about, do we have enough staff to do these jobs? Do we have enough people to work on these jobs? Do we have enough time to allocate to these audits? Because I feel like the issue of time and the issue of resourcing is what causes a toxic work environment where managers are on your back about when you're going to deliver a certain work paper. That's what causes all this toxicity, and people eventually leave, because at the end of the day, if my mental health is down on the floor and has deteriorated, there's nothing I can give you. So yeah, that's my take on audit in South Africa versus audit in the UK. And like I said, these were my opinions and my experiences, and are not reflective of any employer, past employers or future employers. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Comment down below and let me know your views on this topic. What have you experienced? If you are in South Africa, how is your experience in audit? And if you are in the UK, what is your experience in the UK versus South Africa? And maybe I've said one or two things here that resonate with you. Please drop it down in the comments and we'll continue the conversation there. I hope you guys have subscribed if you liked this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.